Well, hello there. Day two of a film a day. Um, I couldn't start a Fellowship of the Ring and then not go all the way through to Return of the King. So, though I'm only doing one film a day, I did watch two films in the last 2 days. Well, three films if you include Fellowship in the last 2 days. Because, man, I love those films. I mean, Fellowship of the Ring is without a doubt the best. And I would say, if I had to pick one as my favourite film of all time, Fellowship. But it's just such a perfect trilogy. And yes, as I watched it, there are things you start to pick out. The Two Towers gets a little slow. That Return of the King, there are lots of plots and subplots that you think, oh, but it's definitely a case of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And I've been thinking a lot about the Amazon series that they're currently in development, and initially I was very hostile towards it, thinking, well, is this just a poor excuse to, milk the storytelling potential just so people will watch another streaming show? I got quite burned when I watched the Hobbit trilogy. I followed it right from the point in which it was even discussed with Guillermo del Toro and it only being two films, until we got to the point when I walked out of the cinema after the Battle of Five Armies and a friend of mine said, "How did you feel?" And I said, "I'm really upset." But the more I think about it, having watched the films now, I feel like maybe it's the kind of thing that should be handed over and explored. And there's a possibility that, this Amazon show could end up being quite a superficial excuse just to have Aragorn and tell, very Lord of the Ringsy style stories, but with no real substance to them. Or it could be a lovingly crafted continuation of Tolkien's legacy. I'd rather see the story expanded and different stories in that world told than watch it wither and fade. We talk a lot about Star Wars at the minute and the fact that so many people have different feelings about the sequel trilogy and the two spin-off films and all the properties that have come out of it. But sometimes it won't work out, and sometimes you'll get these things where they're not exactly as we wanted them to be. But you just have to wait for that point in which the right storyteller gets hold of the right kind of story within that world, and all of a sudden it reignites our love for that property. Many would say The Mandalorian has done that for Star Wars, and maybe this Amazon show will do this for the works of Tolkien. And finally we'll get to see the Silmarillion broken down into films and TV series. Or we could see stories going forward into the future of Middle-earth that we never thought would be possible. But I'm willing to hope. And I, in spite of my umming and ahhing and beating my chest, think I am going to end up watching the Amazon show, even if I start and then hate it. I'd rather give it that benefit of the doubt. And The Lord of the Rings, these three films and the books and all the other books are still there. The stories are still there. I still think The Lord of the Rings is perfect. And Tolkien himself went over and over his own stories and retold them and expanded small things in his notes. But there's no reason we can't continue to do that in his honour. So I'm sat here delighted that I've just watched The Lord of the Rings and looking forward to whatever the future of this storytelling franchise can be. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.